Hi, this is Arlie. I want to do a quick flip through of this watercolor sketchbook. I'm going to try really hard not to do side thoughts and stuff. Maybe I'll write it in the description if there's extra things I want to say. I started this sketchbook Colo, 100% cotton, which is nice, more than 2 years ago. I'm trying to become a better watercolorer, more comfortable with watercolor. I remember painting this page. It's a photo from, I think, online or a catalog. It says a model wearing a wonderful striped dress. I remember thinking, oh my God, the paint just sits so well on this paper, and just feeling really excited about it. And also, I don't usually sketch it first, but I did, which is really important with watercolor, because in watercolor you leave the paper white as your white. And planning ahead and sketching is really important for watercolor, that's another thing to learn, for me to learn how to do. And weirdly, so when you look at it, you just see two faces, but I want to tell you, this looks exactly like my sister, but it was me. And it's just so weird. I have a half sister, and so we have different mothers. And this is from my own picture. I forget what I was saying. I think a lot of my self-portrait selfies are lipstick check. So I think it had been raining and I put new lipstick on, and I take a picture to make sure my lipstick looks good. And so this is a picture of me, but every time I look at it, I see my sister. And then this is another one of me. So I got to the point where I was overworking it, and you can see I was trying to add light, and I added white gouache, and it just ends up not looking good, I think. And then I did sketch it ahead of time, but another lesson I have learned or am learning is if there's something wrong with the sketch, it's going to become part of the problem in the end. The underlying sketch, if you're going to sketch, the underlying sketch is so important. So don't think I'll fix that later, because it just doesn't work. So yeah, so that's how my hair is not red. This one, so this is a mix of gouache and watercolor. Gouache is basically watercolor, which is pigment, mixed with something that makes it opaque, a type of chalk. And so while watercolor sinks into the page, gouache sits on top of the page. And when you mix the two, it flattens what's great about watercolor is its transparency. And if you start out watercolor and then you add gouache, which is fine, there are no rules, but this is way in the beginning when I was learning. I learned that you can't do that I can't do that for the effect. So let's see. So this is watercolor on watercolor, for example. And then this one is gouache on watercolor. This is gouache on watercolor. So if you, and the white here, that's pigment mixed into gouache. If you are trying to learn, like I am and was, just pick a topic and just fill a page with it. It's fun to look at. If you're a digital person at all, you can scan it in and play with it and make it work. You can turn it black and white to see how your values are. Just, I think these I don't know if you're looking at this thinking, oh, it looks fine, I don't know what she's complaining about. I'm not complaining, but I can see how I was in the process of learning. I went on Pinterest and found a picture of strawberries, leaves, and flowers, played with it, and then I just kept finding strawberries to paint. Trying to figure it out. And also kind of copying other people, but trying to find my own style. You know, about copying other people's work, unless you are a master imitator, like one of those people that like ends up going to prison because they're trying to fake a Picasso or whatever, it's going to be really hard for you to copy someone's style exactly. And unless you're planning on selling it as your own work and you're just doing it to practice and get a feel for it, I really think it is okay to paint someone else's work. So I've taken most of my Instagram photos down, but I did download all the comments and everything, you know, so I have it all. So if somebody said, I absolutely need to know if you copied my work, I could go back and find this. I think I did post it on Instagram, or I kept notes, and I could try to source this, but I'm not planning on using this professionally. This to me is just sort of like, I don't know, like somebody who runs on the treadmill for weeks before they do the marathon. Like, this is the treadmill work. I wasn't going to lecture. I'm going to try not to. So I wrote a note here that says pencil smudging. When I cover a page, I think sometimes people think it's because it's private, but I'm not trying to be private. I'm just trying to prevent smudging. Okay, so here I did copy someone else's art. Oh my God, I love this artist. And I did eventually find out who it is. And if you ask me, I can research it. It's just an illustrator, and I tried to figure out who it was. I did the reverse image search and all that stuff. But I just loved the different faces and the colors, and so I copied almost exactly the work to try to like hold it in my memory and learn. But since there's pencil on the page, probably should. Let me see if before I post this, or if someone asks, I'll try to figure out who that is. I just love that illustrator's work. This is just from a photo on Pinterest, learning how to do shadows. In my opinion, I don't think I did a good job, but I learned later that if you have a hard edge while it's still drying, you can take your brush and put clean water on it and act like you're painting with transparent, you know, don't make it soaking wet, but you're now painting with invisible paint, i.e. water, and you just go in and soften the edge, you know. So if I had known, that's what I would do. This is from a company I follow, the SF something. I'll post it in the comments, but I love their photographer. Does just a wonderful job of the background, the models, the clothing. I really love their work. So I will post this person and this clothing company that I follow on Instagram. I'll post it in the comments or in the description. This is a coffee shop. A restaurant in Denver. I felt really self-conscious when I was there, and I decided that the self-consciousness was greater than the inspiration. I brought everything with me, and then I couldn't do it. So I just took photos and brought it home and did it as soon as I got home. They did it. And I think what I want to learn is this thing where you do tone on tone, where you have a lighter color and then you paint details. So I want to learn how to do that. And I also want to learn how to do metals. But let's see. So this was a year ago. I think this was from one of my own photos. Really do not like it, but that's okay. This is from, I think, one of my own photos or from one online. I think it's one of my own photos. Oh, I don't know. I actually don't remember. I went to Japan, and I can tell this is from a Japanese alleyway. But I also went online and downloaded some images of streets so I could kind of practice the thing that I was really interested in doing, which was just the different alleyways and the signs and the colors. So sometimes for me, I like working with to stay with a big brush and not go down in size. And then I think I did at the very end add a couple of things in the small brush, but it's to try to work quickly and sort of impressionistically. So I was trying to do that, but still have it look like buildings. This was a view from a hotel room, and I wanted to do urban sketching. I'm not sure what the actual definition of urban sketching is, but I think of it as anything that has man-made, you know, straight lines, buildings, fences, you know, that kind of thing. I don't think of a painting that has a single telephone pole as urban sketching, but the soft painting and then hard lines of the urban item or object is what makes it urban sketching to me. Now, I realize now that drawing on bumpy paper just does not work for me. I don't find it enjoyable, and it never looks the way I want it to look. So I'm not sure this bumpy cold press watercolor paper is good for me for urban sketching. Then I had an idea for what I wanted here, and I couldn't make it work. I wanted to show what it was like where I was sitting at the tea house in Boulder with plants in front of me and seeing the umbrellas in the back. And to me, this just looks really flat and kind of boring. I'm not sure what I did wrong exactly, but I took photos, and I think I could continue to work on this to try to figure out how to get what I want. I think one thing is to, this is something I'm realizing recently, is that there's a difference between an establishing shot and the I do photo. And what I mean is, if you're a photographer and you're supposed to photograph a wedding, there are photos that are just sort of like, here's what the whole thing, the venue, here's what the tables look like. But then there are the photos where the couple is exchanging rings and they're standing on the, you know, they're taking their vows and nothing else matters. And so I think that's how I need to think about painting, is I need to figure out what's the important thing. And I think I made everything important. And by doing that, everything became unimportant, if that makes any sense. It's not a bad painting. Obviously, I'm learning. This is, these are different watercolors. I don't think I have them nearby, but they're more, they're homemade watercolor, you know, artisanal watercolors that are made by a small company. And so they have kind of a gritty feeling to them, and it really suits this subject. It suited the mood I was going for. It suits the paper. I did have to go in with a little bit of white gouache. Remember how I have that like epox on white gouache, but I think it works here. So I wanted to bring back the light area under the trees. And also I didn't overwork this, which surprises me because that's kind of what I tend to do. And then I also used white gouache here to show the sky's reflection on these logs that were here. I think this one's successful. I did well. And then followed by, so this one I tried to just do out of my head, which never works. I just really do much better if I have something to look at. But I was going through all of my paints to figure out what paints I have, and what I finally understood is that what I want is granulating paint. And you remember how I said watercolor soaks in and gouache sits on top? Well, granulation is pigment in watercolor that sits on top, and it separates so that you have stain that goes into the paper and colors the paper, and then it has like this gritty stuff that sits on top and dries on top, and so you end up with this cool sort of two-tone. And I think I watched a video or something, and I was like, oh my God, I really want granulating paints, which is kind of what this did. And I actually just drew something and then got out a bunch of paints that I thought might be granulating, and I just tested them out, and I used this as my test image. This is from a photo that I took. I understand now what I did wrong, which is not wrong. is I put too much contrast and value in the background and not enough in the flowers. These are some of my favorite flowers. They're anemones or September flowers or wind flowers. This is a copy of a Toulouse-Lautrec painting. I have a painting that my dad took of my mother before I was born, where she's leaning against a car and she's holding some grapes in her hand. And I really want to do it as a Toulouse-Lautrec painting. So I thought it would be kind of interesting to copy a few of his to see if I can figure out how he does it. And actually, I've read recently that a lot of the Art Nouveau artists who did women, dancing and lounging, they actually did work from photos. So don't feel like if you're using a photo, it's cheating. This is watercolor. I'm looking for gouache. I don't see gouache. I think I was just working on glass and wood, shadows, when to make the background go away and when to pop the objects. This was from our first morning in Australia. We had eggs. This is also from Australia. And so this is just like a week later, and I think I handled this much better than this. I tried to leave the masked white paper, but I lost it in the paint and I had to draw in. I think I used a white marker, but otherwise I think I did pretty well. Things that I'm working on right now are how to make water look like water, how to make a path look like a path, how to do concrete, stuff like that. And then also how to push the background back and bring the foreground forward and create depth. And then also the other thing that I was just talking about, like the wedding photo, when to do what, when to bring the couple to the front and when to do an establishing shot. Doesn't look like me, but it's a selfie. Sometimes I'm just like in the mood and the paints are sitting right there and I just go for it. So this was way overworked. I think I handled the branches okay, but I kind of messed up the background. Photo from our trip, and this one I used an orange pencil to outline it first, that was so fun because then everything has this kind of orangey glow. And then this is Kahila in Lawson in Australia. It's a school now, but it's where my grandmother grew up. And we visited it. I didn't paint there, I just took photos. And then I drew in pencil, then I painted, then I drew a couple of details back with pencil. And so that's not cheating. And then the same here. This is a statue in the Botanic Gardens in Sydney, and I think I could have mellowed out the background a little more. I think I got to the point where I realized I was overworking it. It's really hard for me to work from photos because I want to make the painting look like the photo, and I'm learning today, so let's see, this was just a couple months ago. Today, I'm learning how to sort of smush and mellow and unfocus the background so that the subject can come forward. So I'm good with the way the statue turned out, but I think I got a little fussy here and I should have stopped. Like this. Or like this. This is granulating, by the way. This and this and this. Then this one didn't turn out like I imagined. This is a pathway in in Australia. And then there's a story that goes with this, which if you watch my other videos, you know the story. I couldn't understand. I thought the security cameras everywhere on this cliff were for vandalism, but later I found out it's for people who jump over the cliff, not saying the word. And what I thought to be a very beautiful place, when I came home, I found out this story, and I actually was listening to a true crime story, and this happened, and I was like, oh crap, that's where I took so many pictures. So it's weird because your emotions about a place start to come through. And I thought this was a beautiful place, but now it has a much deeper meaning to me. And I think that's kind of why this ended up looking so dark. So tell me what you think. Then I tried doing this sort of fence using a pen. I don't know if there's another way I could have done this. I probably could have done the tone on tone thing. This is really recent, just last month. Milwaukee. This is a city building, and I loved the purple trees, and I thought I really should try to get more birds and people in my work. And so this is an urban sketch, but instead of using pencil or pen, I used, I think, colored pencils. And then this I just did yesterday. This is what's called, I have it right here, Gansai Tombi paints, which I'm getting better at. They're in between watercolor and gouache. And what I'm finding is, for me, and it's different for everybody, for me it works better on really absorbent paper. And I just really love how it blends while it's still wet. And so I am able to create that feeling of unfocused depth. And then, so I painted this, and then immediately I realized this is my last page, so I got out some nice watercolors and did it in watercolor. I did use white gouache in both for the water, because it sort of went down like this. And I also added a couple little, they're called sky holes. And then here, I did not add sky holes, I only did the water. And I actually did that thing where I was painting and I realized I painted over where I wanted the water to be. So I got a brush, got it wet with clean water, dried it almost completely, and then basically erased. So I felt so like I'm an advanced watercolorist, because I'd never actually done that before. I always see other people do it. I really like this one. It reminds me of an artist I follow named John something. I'll put his information in the description, who paints really sort of chunky and blocky, and I just love his work. I actually just moved back into my art studio, and a while ago I had purchased a bunch of his prints, and I cannot wait to get them back up. 'Cause he just is so good at this kind of chunky look. I love it. And then this was just me trying out some paints when I first got a couple months ago. Oh, I know. Sometimes when I'm painting, I don't have one to show you. Oh, here. Sometimes when I'm painting, I just end up with leftover paints, and I don't want to throw them away or rinse them out. And I think, oh, they look so pretty together. So I just start at the back of the book, or I have some books that are junky, and I paint until there is no more paint left. Okay, so I managed not to lecture too much. I hope you enjoyed this flip through, and let me know what you think about any things that I said. I have all these little theories that are ongoing. I'm basically self-taught, except I just love YouTube, and I'm really grateful for the other artists who show their work and talk about what they do. That's it. Thanks.